I'm Lauren Dolgaro, aka the Solutionist, Total Solution Trust. I have a very special treat for y'all today. Today, we have with us for a very special interview, Al Mills, aka the Prophetic Financier, my coach, my mentor, teacher of Empirenomics. We have him today for an interview, so without any further ado, here I present you Al Mills, aka the Prophetic Financier. So thank you again for joining us. I wanted to take some time, and especially since you opened up your calendar to us, to kind of talk about credit and the problems that the nation is experiencing, that consumers are experiencing, that we've been moving to expose, and why we're looking to move to expose that now.
Well, it's funny you say that. Again, in this new economic reset, so many folks are scrambling now to find ways to secure emergency funds or make those major purchases, that this is a great time that people should become informed about proper credit education. I think it's imperative that what you guys are doing is a great thing, because it can definitely help a multitude of families at this point in time.
Don't know. And would you actually tell us more about financial intelligence and your background and where you come from? Give everybody a greater idea of your background.
Well, sure. Well, I come from the financial space, well over 25 years in that space, and I've seen a lot of things. But there's three things that I do very, very well, and that is I help people think better, bank better, and leverage better. And I created a system for Empirenomics that you're very familiar with, and that we're able to empower people. So again, my background, finance, I'm also a minister. I have a ministry called Kingdom Thinking Ministry. And so what we do is basically we help people unlock their past. Again, that old programming. We help people overstand their current situation. And as that word overstand, for those of you you either know something with your standing or you're under someone else's. So we're overstanding their current situation and where they are. And then lastly, we uncover their future so that they can live life and have that lifestyle compliant empire. And so that's our mission. We're combined here together to really help people really have the life on their terms. So many of us, I included, did everything my parents said to do. Go to school, get a good education, get a good job, and then do what? Again, like I said, not to beat a dead horse, pay taxes to the government, interest to the banks, and purchase my consumer goods from public and private corporations, and just keep your head down and do what you're supposed to do. But I realized if you did the same thing that those before you did and you didn't like the results, but you did it anyway, well, we already know the clinical definition of that. I don't need to say it, but I'm not insane. So that's really the passion and the mission that I'm about. And we're teaming up together to really make change, really reach out and touch those millions of families and really help them pivot in these uncertain times.
Why do you think that, the greater population is told and preached to and ingrained with live that debt-free lifestyle?
Well, again, it comes back to there's information for the low income, the middle income, and the elite 1%. And so there's the disparity between wealth and poverty is nothing more than specialized knowledge applied in the right way, which is wisdom. And so in that lack of financial intelligence, there's the gap. And so most folks just don't know.
Why do you think that, education, credit education, finance education in the United States in particular was omitted from the curriculum? Because now we see, consumers in our nation experiencing, they don't know how to create and build credit. They have no idea. The only thing they know is that they could call a consumer credit repair company and maybe they could help them, or they have to wait it out. So why do you think that was omitted from the curriculum?
Well, actually, I think it was because, again, the old adage is basically, as I've always said, we've been trained to go to school, get a good education, pay taxes to the government, interest to the banks. And there's where I'm talking about the interest to the banks, and then buying consumable goods from public and private corporations. So it was meant to be left out because most folks are placed into credit bondage. Prior to 1933 in Europe, there were debt prisons where you would go to jail for debt. So if you look at the replication of that here in the Western civilization, that's very prominent. So Again, think about this. A college freshman, they'll give a kid $100,000, $200,000 student loan, but they wouldn't give a kid a $25,000 personal credit card or even a business loan. That goes to show you where they really want to entrap people into the credit system so that you can kind of direct and control the decisions and the direction in which a person lives.
It's painful when you mention that, because it's so accurate that they do get consumers, people stuck 17, 18, 19 years old so that they can go to college to obtain a degree, and they don't even know if the degree is going to help them to pay off those loans. So it really does put them in that endless trap where they'll struggle for years to go to work and exchange their time and their energy. And they don't even know if they're going to be able to pay back these loans. And then
Exactly.
We haven't even talked about buying a car or a home.
Just the fear of coming out of college with student loan debt alone keeps a person in the space where they have to find a job and find it quick, because those deferments will end the moment that they're not enrolled in school. So what does that say underhandedly is that it's either you stay matriculated in school to defer your student loans, but to stay into school means to do what? Go back into further credit debt.
More negative debt, yes.
More negative debt to stay matriculate. So it's like it's just a proverbial wheel of indebtedness. And so, yeah, it's important that in this day and age that we learn how to teach the younger generation as well as the older really the benefits of credit and debt management.
Now, what would you say that the benefits are of having great credit? I know a lot of times we'll talk to credit repair companies in particular, and they'll say we could buy a house, we could buy a car. But what would you say are the benefits to great credit?
Well, let's start with normal living. You can't rent or buy a home without having a proper credit profile. You can't obtain insurance, may it be personal, automobile-wise. Everything revolves around credit. That's the ecosystem that we're in. And so it's imperative now to learn. So it affects every aspect of your life, from car insurance, like I said, from car insurance and the like. So we have to make the change. We have to make that pivot. Otherwise, you will be a victim or a further victim of this credit game.
Well, the great news is now there's finally an avenue and a place to go where you can obtain that credit education. You don't have to rely on a traditional classroom and hope that the information is given without bias. So that people really can create something that's going to truly benefit them and their family and create that impact. That's not only they're going to be felt as teenagers, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, but their kids and their grandkids, just by using credit and learning how to build it and leverage it.
Right, and to use it for a living. So long, everyone's been taught to advocate to take care of Mr. Amex or Visa and not pay themselves first. And so now with this financial education in the terms of the credit space, you'll be able to leverage the banks for once as opposed to the banks leveraging you. You can learn to use debt for acquiring assets. See, one of the old adages that you use credit cards to put gas in the car and to make consumable purchases. Now we're advocating, combined together, the two of us, we're empowering people to learn how to take that same debt and use it for positive leverage as opposed to negative leverage or buying liabilities.
See, that's something that you and I both find is really kind of hard to overcome in other people's mentalism, is to be able to grasp and grow around that idea that you can use debt to create cash flow and income. But at this point, it's positive debt and it outweighs any negative outlying factors.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Debt equals money. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but debt equals money. But the key word is what type of debt? Positive debt or neutral debt equals money. So when you hear someone say that they want to live debt-free, they're really saying they want to live without money, and that's really a negative connotation. So you have to realize that debt can create wealth for you. It can provide passive income for you. Look around you. Every building, every hotel, every bank was purchased with credit. No one who has financial intelligence would ever buy any form of an asset or liability for that matter, with cash. Look at some of the most wealthiest players on the planet. Do you think that the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City is paid for $4 billion in cash? No, there's a mortgage on it. A mortgage is called debt. That's positive debt because that casino produces enough revenue to support the payment of the debt and provide the proprietor cash flow to live.
If you could give one word of advice that would be generally applicable, especially circulating COVID and different options that could give people a new perspective on what is possible in this new marketplace, in this new economy, what piece of advice would you give them?
I would say the very first thing, as I've always said, we don't have fiscal problems, we don't have relationship issues, we don't have social issues, we have an identity problem. So I'm going to recommend that if anyone who wants to really change their paradigm in thinking or what they're getting in life is get knowledge of self. When I say knowledge of self, is really know who you are in commerce and in spiritual metaphysical principles and really begin to walk on two legs. See, that's the problem that's been in society. We've only been hopping on one leg when we can only walk with two. And so instead of hopping around from one opportunity to the next, we need to learn how to walk in our preeminence. And that comes from being founded on the knowledge of self. And so above all, get to identify who you are and who the Most High, the Creator, designed you to be, and not what society says that you should be. Doing that is the number one thing I recommend.
So usually tell everybody a little bit more about the socioeconomic mobility. I know I overstand it, but it's definitely a new term that's coming into light nowadays.
Right. Well, socioeconomic mobility basically means this. The things that you do, are you enhancing how you live, your quality of life? Is your quality of life, when we come back to quality of life, is are you living life on your terms and having more freedom to enjoy it? Most folks work 75% of their time is outside of that home or apartment that they work so hard to pay for. With social mobility, you will be able to spend more time in that home and enjoy it because you're not trading a lot more time for a minuscule wage. Now, of course, economic mobility is that you'll move from the 95 percentile, which earns less than $60,000, and position yourself to be in the elite 5% group that earns minimally $150,000 upward to $380,000, which puts you in the 1%. So that's really socioeconomic mobility. Here's an example. Very simple. Having credit and debt management intelligence, it is easier to amass $50,000 to $100,000 in personal and business credit than it is to get a job paying you $50,000 to $100,000 a year. A person with some dedication could take 90 days to learn these principles through the help of ourselves, and they could be able to acquire $100,000 in less than 90 days if they really follow a plan and stick with it. How many college graduates are earning $100,000 a year at graduation? Now, and again, I'm an advocate for education. Don't get me wrong, but I believe in specialized knowledge that can be applied in the right way, which is wisdom, and then you can do that. I think we need to get back to apprenticeship. If you look at it from a scholastic standpoint, that whole scholarly situation came about from the whole Greek mythology process, whereas we, from an indigenous standpoint, were always into apprenticeship. Everything was apprenticeship. And you learn from a master, someone who did something that you'd like to do, and you just replicate what they've done to get the same results. Whereas in the current paradigm is what? You do the same things your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents have done, and expect
and you
a different
the same result.
So we need to change that paradigm, and it starts with the knowledge of self, and then knowing how to apply yourself in the ecosystem. Once you do that, life becomes fun. And again, it starts with credit and debt management, where you can amass a lot more wealth. It's imperative right now. You need that emergency reserves. You need that $25,000, $50,000 that you can just, if you need to, get access to it. But now here's the other thing. Not just having it is important, but learning how to turn credit into cash is even a whole nother conversation. And that's what we're combining here, teaching people not just how to create a profile, get access to capital, but how to then convert it into real cash that can create that socioeconomic mobility.
That impact.
Impact, of course.
Impact and freedom.
Freedom, that's right. So yeah, I'm excited. It's an exciting time. It's a sad time, but it's also an exciting time, because in every depression and every economic reset, more and more people become wealthy who have specialized knowledge. And so I'm going to always encourage, especially the viewers who are watching this, it's time to take action. It won't get any better than this. This is the greatest transfer of wealth that this country has ever seen. The last bubble was considered the best, but look at the numbers now. There was only 6 million people who were unemployed in the first bubble burst. Now we're over 42 million people unemployed. So the opportunities are going to be there. And
they're bubbling up. And what do you think is the timeline, and what do you see that type of uptrend looking like?
Not to advocate Bitcoin, but I predicted Bitcoin was going to be $22,000 before by January 2021. It went to $23,000 a day or two ago. So if I had to be
You're 15 days early.
If I had to use my prophetic process, I would say I'm seeing a lot of distressed real estate happening again. And this is going to be a great space that if you build a proper credit foundation, you can take advantage of really accumulating a great portfolio of real estate, especially commercial real estate. So I'm thinking that's going to be huge. Look at all the major cities right now. All the commercial restaurants, especially in the Northeast, like New York City, sometimes a ghost town when it comes to commercial restaurateurs type of rentals. It's really, really sad. So, but yet, what's sad, when there's blood in the street, there's opportunity. So I'm going to say, take advantage of that. Absolutely. Just keep bringing the good news, Lauren. I think you're doing a great job. Out there, people need to hear your sound, hear our frequency, and know that there are opportunities. We can turn the corner. You do not have to be in dismay. Just plug into the right people. There's always that saying, plug in, get a coach, get a mentor, have a proven system, and you can make things happen. And you got it right here. I think those are your viewers who are listening to your program. They got a great person here bringing true knowledge to the table. I'm going to say, take it, utilize it. And if you need help, reach out.
I have a great teacher. What can I say? Wow, great. Thank you so much for, having this time here with us to come
Always
on.
My pleasure.
Tell us more about Empirenomics and credit, and really give us some insight on what you see happening. Absolutely. We should do this more frequently and get the word out and start bringing more people into the light that there really is options. And, amidst now everybody's talking crisis and things are falling apart, there are really options out there.
There are.
And they don't need to be traditional. Sometimes we have to pivot to find what's truly our passion and truly where we belong in this experience.
Exactly. Well, I'll say this too. We're not here to give you fluff. We're going to give you the naked truth. So if you want truth in this naked form, and we keep it real, raw, and relevant, you're in the right place. We're not here to try to sell you anything. We're here about evolution, evolving from one thought process to another. That's correct.
Yes.
That's it. So I'm
creating that whole transformation, mind, body, spirit, financial, the 7 pillars. Everything is about creating change and creating true transformation from within out.
Exactly.
So again, I'm Lauren, aka the Solutionist with Total Solution Trust, joined honorably by Mr. Al Mills, the Prophetic Financier, my coach and mentor with Empirenomics. But again, thank you for joining us and offering us that enlightening time.
My pleasure.
You have so much experience in relationships. You really know what's going on in the credit world and really helping so many people to transcend from what they thought they were locked into and really grasping that future that they had so long dreamed of.
Absolutely. So thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be able to speak into your consciousness and help you evolve. And now look, you're doing the same thing for others. And this is what it's about. Each one teach one, each one lead one, and together we can make change. So again, you know how to change the world? You first change yourself and then you be of an impact to others. And so I want to back. So it was my pleasure being here today.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Please make sure that you do like and subscribe to Total Solution Trust in all of our videos. That way, you don't miss out on any of these important messages that are really going to give you that opportunity to create the generational impact and the generational change that you've been really dreaming about.
Absolutely. All right.
Thanks again, PPF. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Bye-bye.